So the Sajam Tekken Slam has ended. And what an insane event was. If you guys didn't catch it live, definitely check out the VODs. This is so cool. I'm about to have Joey Fury, the winner of the entire event. Spoilers. Not too sorry. The winner of the entire event, one of NA's heroes. Let me get him on the call right now. Hang tight.
This guy's a molester.
Fee, can you hear me?
Mr. Joey, hello, hello. Congratulations.
Thanks, bro.
What a phenomenal performance of your players. And I was telling chat constantly, I was gassing you up about all your accomplishments and your mindset and all these things, because obviously I'm a big fan. But tell me, like just initial impressions of pulling this off. Like, how did you feel about the event? How did you feel about this whole process? I know we talked about it a bit, but I think the stream would love to hear.
Yeah, there was a lot that went into this. This was a lot of work. It was stressful at times.
Anytime I play Infinite Desert,
started
anytime I play.
talking with these players, a week ago today? I mean, like a few of them a little bit before that, but it's been about a week.
Yeah.
That I was able to like get on a call, and just early on it was like just form impressions of how they play.
Yeah.
And what they know.
Yeah.
I think I was pretty blessed and lucky with this team, like just how hardworking they were. Like the grind was insane. Like every time I would open up Twitch, I would see like 2 or 3 of them live and just like grinding the game like crazy. So they had a ton of repetitions and exposure to work with. And when I told them to practice something, they like really practiced it. So I had just a really strong team to work with to start, which was a huge help. But yeah, like I mean, I barely even know where to begin. It was just so busy, like typing up notes all week and watching gameplay and watching their streams. That was crazy. That was a lot of work, man.
Dude, I really feel that. I was experimenting at first with creating Google Docs and kind of like giving people concrete move lists. Like I would say like these are your god moves, and then these are your high, mids, and lows, right? Like that was kind of my format. But the longer I went on, and MYK in the chat just said he wrote a doc for everybody too. The longer it went on, I was like, maybe this is still too much. And you mentioned that briefly, that even though we felt like we were trying to take it easy, things were really overwhelming, right?
Yeah, I felt like I would spend like hours watching some of their streams just to end up sending them like a paragraph of notes.
Yeah, no, for real.
So that was a big thing. I think like I knew I'd need to put in a lot of time to like figure out what the right things to say were. But like you and I were talking about, it's a super fine line of like overloading them.
Yeah.
There was only like 2 sets I played, or not that I played, that the team played, that I was on the call. The only time I did that was with Emily against Coney.
Right.
Everybody else, it was just like hype them up, go in, run your game.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of it as well. Like before they played, I was like, shouldn't even really be thinking about like anything I've told you.
Yeah.
like this whole week, because you're only gonna be able to do what's natural.
Yes.
So the things that I've said that have like gotten through to like the natural level, the subconscious level, they're gonna be able to do. But the things that I've told them that are still like, not quite ingrained, it's not even really worth thinking about.
Yeah. No, I remember distinctly taking that philosophy from our coaching sessions in Tekken 7 and applying that to these players. I kept saying, I'm going to tell you all these things. You're going to forget 90% of them. And whatever you remember is just what we're going to rock with. When you're right before a match, don't think about it. Relax. We're going to have fun. We're going to fight. And whatever sticks, sticks. And I remember distinctly taking that from the advice you've given me in the past. And so hearing that again is really, really cool. Like that is still a foundational part, I think, of just high intensity competition, right?
Yeah, I like the way I think about it, specifically like a part of just Tekken, like the nature of this game with so many moves and so many matchups and all these weird situations you're going to put in. Like, you can only really end up doing what's natural. So yeah, that's just been a hard learned thing from playing Tekken for so long, just like how overwhelming the game is.
No, for real. One thing I wanted to ask is, I noticed and as comfortable as you are with sharing, of course, I noticed in the approach of your players, in the first set, it definitely felt like people fumbling with just the nature of the Tekken competitive experience, kind of like the format, just getting in the games and doing your thing. And then in the second day, it felt like people really refined their offensive, whether it was flowcharts or just pinpoint decision making on the attack. Is that something you put emphasis on specifically? Is that something they gravitated towards? How did that work?
Oh, so you're saying like between when we played Friday and then when we played today?
Yeah, and then in general, just kind of your approach to getting these players to do Tekken things outside of necessarily just it's easy to tell people, like, if they're like long-term Tekken players, punish this, block this, but how did you get them geared, I guess, for like competition?
Yeah, I want to like keep referring back to just how like moldable this team was. Like, they were just such gamers. It was insane, like how quickly they would pick up on some things. Like if I go like one player at a time, like with Rob, I only really got on a call with Rob one time.
Wow, that's incredible.
And that was because I knew this was like, I've got to equip him with like a few strats, maybe just like 2 or 3 things, and I got to look at what he's already good at, what he's already comfortable doing, and maybe just like refine slightly. So like, first thing I saw, I was like, okay, he loves his power crush, so like, let's figure out how to get some more damage off of this. And I was just like clarifying with him, if they don't back roll out of your power crush, like, you're gonna get that free ground hit. If they do back roll out of it, then you want to go back to thinking about like doing another one or doing you're down 3, like just trying to see like what he already was basing his game plan off of, and like, okay, how do we just like power it up a little bit?
So you went for more of like an augmentation approach more than a like straight foundational forming and shaping as you saw.
Yeah, I think the general mindset was like, see what they do naturally, and then see how you can increase the damage output on those things. So, but also like the base way I think about Tekken, like if you want to get into that side of things, it's like you need a strong high, a strong mid, a strong low. So with Rob, I was like, okay, he's already got the strong high, he's got the power crush. And I was like, you got to get on this down 3 wave. So I started trying to give him firepower off down 3, down 3-1, down 3-4. And he was just so good. Like, I didn't have to sit there and teach him combos. He's just like, yeah, I'll figure that out. And he
nice.
like figured out all of his little combo routes off of these launchers himself. I was mostly just like, yeah, if you counter hit the down 3, you'll get the 1 afterward.
Right.
So strong high, strong low, and then like strong mid, we were like, well, you've got the mid power crush, that makes sense. And your hop kick like makes sense to me.
Gotcha.
So even in that case, like there's still an idea, I guess, to the like making the foundation of how he plays.
Yeah.
High, mids, lows. And yeah, I just sort of gave him that little outline, and he was already, like I said, doing some of these things naturally. And he was like, okay, sweet. I'm going to hit ranked and just start grinding. And I was really impressed just how many things that he figured out naturally, just equipped with like a game plan to start. And he like intuitively figured out like do a rage art when they miss, that's like a good whiff punisher, or like he can 2-2 punish like a lot of things.
Yeah,
like,
we were seeing that. Yeah,
he noticed that worked on rage art, so he started kind of intuitively doing it on other things that looked punishable. And like right when I got him on the call, he was like, these chainsaws are like crazy. And I was like, okay, same thing, like we need to know your high, your mid, your low. And so he was like, just buzz him with the high over and over, buzz him with the low over and over, and sometimes just do 1 and just carve him up with the mid. Like, it was just that idea applied to things that he naturally wanted to do. And yeah, like I said, I just one session and he just was good.
That is phenomenal.
He went undefeated. He didn't lose a single set.
That was really cool. No, I distinctly remember as my coaching went on, I started out by giving people, I tried to limit the options, but I really did give them a lot of options, like 2 to 3. And as coaching went on, I started realizing more and more, like, for a brand new player, even if they're a gamer, this is a lot, right? So,
yeah.
And I noticed, this is a nice transition, I guess, to Emilyywang, because I worked with her a little bit in the beginning, and I worked with Lili Pichu, so all these Lili players, right? And everybody kind of, whether it was natural or direction, they got drawn to DF44, right? Super strong, which I think at this level is just such a strong mid. It's just a high damage 2-hit mid, and nobody's going to defend it at this level, right? Like it's too specific, I think, in a game with so many options. Can you tell me more about how you did your coaching with Emily? Just because I guess I have direct experience with giving her some of the Tekken basics and some of the things, but I'm curious how you shaped her from that into this offensive menace. Like, she was going crazy on offense, right?
Yeah, so Emily was really, really impressive. Like, the work ethic, and like, if I showed her something and it didn't stick right away, she was like, I'm just gonna practice this like in practice mode for hours and hours, like crazy, like, grind mindset. But I think I spent definitely the most time on, like, video calls, voice calls with Emily, of anyone. She, like, first thing I did with anyone was like, okay, show me what you've been doing. You know, I wanted to see what they were doing naturally. And she knew a lot already. She already kind of had that idea of, like, highs, mids, lows. And yeah, she showed me the down forward 4-4. That she liked to kind of try to set it up with grabs.
Okay, I'm gonna steal credit for that, just a little bit. No, but no, that's cool. That's cool, yeah.
Or do, like, grab setups. Yeah, like, she was showing me, like, the jab string she liked to do, 1-1. And I was like, what lows are you doing? She was showing me the down 3. And so I wanted to just keep, like, gathering impressions on, like, what are you doing off a back turn? Because I needed to see that there's a mix-up off the back turn, like highs, mids, lows. And that was already all established with her. She had, like, the back turn down 2, the back turn 1+2. And the way my mind's going, like, okay, back turn 1+2, like, what kind of damage are you getting off of that? And she had the combo down. Like, she was already very set on a lot of things. So my mindset kept, like, trying to scour for more, like, mix-up opportunities, more firepower on what she's already doing. And the thing that we worked on the most was the situation after Heat Engager connected, because she was initially, like, she would just do the bunny hop into the little jump 50-50.
Yeah, the Feisty, I think she might have learned that from Dew Glider, because I distinctly avoided Feisty Rabbit, because my initial approach was I want to teach him high, mid, low, stand block, crouch block, stances we can maybe get into later. So I think Dew Glider put her on that. That was really cool.
I see. Yeah. So she was just doing that, like, every time after Heat Engager, and it was working pretty good. But I was like, this is going to, like, go down in effectiveness over time. And so the way that we started, I was, like, explaining to her why we want, like, more mix-up layers off the Heat Engager than just doing that bunny hop every time.
Right.
And I was seeing, like, why it was so hard for her to get away from it, because it would work so frequently.
Right. The effect, like, denying or changing someone's options when they're so high reward and succeeding is really difficult, right?
Yeah, but I was like, a few things. Like, people are going to catch on.
Right.
And start, like, guessing better on it. And 2, like, if people mash on Heat Engager, which I'm like, is totally going to happen. People are not going to, like, oh, it's plus 17, don't press here. Like, they're going to press on Heat Engager.
Right.
So I was like, we need another mix up here. And the way I started was just like, just do the stomp sometimes. Forward. Do Heat Engager, and then just step on their toes. And then I was like, then you're in back turn, and you can mix them again. And so she slowly started doing that a little bit. and getting some mileage, it would be like heat engage, stomp on their toes, low heat smash, and that's like Half-Life. And that took a little while to get going, but that started to get comfortable. And then just yesterday, I was like, okay, stomp's comfortable, and I was like, Emily, sometimes people are just gonna hard duck. You're gonna hit the heat engage, you're gonna hard duck, and I was like, let's just hit them with hop kick.
Yeah,
like, that's a mix up, right?
Yeah,
stomp on them or just hop kick. And she really put that into play today against Coney.
Yes,
because we noticed like how susceptible he was to the mix up after the heat engager, and I think that was the way their final set started.
Yeah.
Heat engage, hop kick. So she was just very like receptive to making these changes, but it was always just, I think, the mindset like find opportunities to mix them up, and when we find those opportunities, how do we like get the damage output going up like all the time?
Find opportunities, maximize those opportunities, reward, right? That's
yes.
And I have the Coney match playing right now, and I'm just like watching it happen. I'm like, this is really, really cool.
And yeah, she was like so coachable with that. I'm like, when you go into back turn, you know, we're running the 50-50 there, but like he's ducking a lot on back turn. And she was like, okay, bet. And just back turn 1+2, back turn 1+2. Like,
yes.
She's a gamer, man. She's just like adapting so quick to these suggestions.
Yeah.
And we were doing other things, talking about wall combos and like how that wall combo system worked. And I saw today she like nailed a perfect wall combo with the up forward 4-3.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think in the early stages, it's like for me, it's about things like that, like upping the damage output on what they already do well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think I came to the similar conclusion where like early on with Box, he is so drawn to what will just hard counter what my opponent's doing, regardless of how Tekken it is or how fundamental it is. It's like, is it going to answer my opponent? And at first I tried to mold that, and then I realized like this is his strength. Maybe for the sake of an event or a tournament, like obviously long term I would want to guide him towards the solid principles. But it started becoming like, let's lean into it, right? Like if you want to jump and do a while standing move, you know, like you got it, like do that thing, bro. You'll learn from experience whether it works or not. And right. I think the same with Lili Pichu. She was such a combo nerd. Like she was so nasty at nailing the combos. So I said, forget all this neutral stuff. We're going to find a way to keep you alive. Like just enough defense so you get enough HP to hit a forward 4 counter hit and take like 60%, right? And so it's cool hearing that you went for a similar approach with leaning into the strengths of the existing player.
Yeah, I think it seemed to be pretty effective in Shiphtur's case. He was like number one, like grinder. Like he was just streaming like 7-8 hours a day. Yeah,
that's a perfect transition. I was about to ask. No, literally every day he was doing 8 hours, like just his work day. And it was Jun Kazama in ranked, right? Like,
yeah, it was just absurd. So, I spent not as much time on video calls with Shiphtur as I did with Emily, but a decent amount. And the very first thing that I was doing with him was talking about block punishment, which was a lot different from any of the other players. Because I saw him like. I saw how like defensive his mindset was.
Right? Playing. Yeah. That's what I noticed too. He would sit there a lot.
Yeah. He was like getting frustrated in ranked at first and struggling. And he's like, these people are just pressing all over me and saying things like I can tell this guy's not good. He's just running strings on me.
Right.
And that like set off a lot of empathy with me because I know what that's like to be like playing defensive, but you don't know what's going on. So I wanted to, like, I had some of that compulsion, like, oh, we got to get him some cheese. We got to get him some cheese strats.
Right.
But it didn't entirely make sense because I'm like, well, we got to like play into his strengths and the way that he wants to play. So
okay. Yeah.
He was like the one player, like the very first session, I just like went into practice mode and I had Hwaring doing 1-1-3-3. And I was just like duck the low, launch with while standing 3, do your full staple combo, And then I kept going down that same line of thinking, like, all right, you hit a while standing 3, like, let's evaluate your combos, make sure you're getting as much damage as possible. So I saw that he wasn't ending combos with Rage Art when he had the opportunity. So I was like, turn Rage on in practice mode, duck the string while standing 3, end it in Rage Art, like P1 and P2, just like this type of stuff. Because he was a defensive player, so it was like, give him just something that's going to be buffing his defense, even if it's just knowing one string, and then buff his damage output when he succeeds at that. And I was doing some more of that stuff with him with like some of Dragunov's strings, power crushes, and I remember like midway through the week just like wondering to myself, like, is this the way to go? Because I'm like teaching him like how to duck strings and like block punish stuff, and this like takes a really long time.
Yeah,
and
this is like months this is like of Tekken shit, right?
Yeah, and I was having that like self-doubt about what we were doing, and then to see him in the tournament duck the second hit of Reyna forward 2-3 and just launch that shit multiple times, I was like, that shit was like a dopamine hit. I'm like, I can't believe he's fucking, this kid is amazing. Like, yeah, Danny was like our defensive guy, and just like giving him some of that while he was just grinding the game like crazy. He came up with a lot of like the offensive firepower stuff himself.
That's awesome. Really? Wow.
Like, I didn't know June too well. Like, I would talk about like, yo, keep doing that 1-2-2 into the throw, you know, just keep doing that. But like the forward 2 like trap afterward, that was all him. When he was like ending rounds with that what is it, not back 3, forward 3-4, whatever that mid into the low string he was doing.
That one drew my attention a lot.
That was like cleaning up rounds really well. Like, so much stuff he just grinded and figured out himself.
That's awesome.
But yeah, just giving him like little bits of confidence. I think like with some of the defensive plays, I was telling him like, you're the one guy that can do this. Like, you're the one guy that like can learn these block punishes and do it fast enough. And that was true. I
think you cooked with that precision. You mentioned self-doubt, but I remember the first time I coached him, I was trying to figure out what was going on because he was so clearly very new. And I saw him just sitting there constantly. I said, okay, this game is aggressive. Let's at least put you on one mix-up. So I gave him 1-1-2 or forward 1, and then I gave him the hell sweep out of Izumo, and then I gave him the mid. And I said, just run this, and I think you will observe when it works and when it doesn't. And he was kind of doing with that, but he like, I think I didn't pick up on the fact like that you mentioned where he still leans towards the defensive side, right?
Yeah.
And I tried teaching him some block punch and stuff like that, and he said to me at the time, he said, I learned really slowly, like this is going to take some time. And I kind of just took that at face value, like, okay, sure. And then I remember seeing him in these 2 events. I'm like, he cleaned up nasty. And the only similar experience I think I had that kind of blew my mind was with Sykkuno, because I never got to meet with Sykkuno. I don't know if you got to see the matches, but I met with Sykkuno maybe twice, maybe 3 times. And today, I taught him the June defense today to duck the hell sweep, and he launched it every time. Maybe he missed one. But I have never worked with a player that had their like eyes on the screen that well as a brand new player. You know, you like I'm sure you know the feeling of like grinding stuff and then it doesn't come off in match because you're focused on other things, focused on your character. Some of these people are insane at gaming, you know?
Yeah, I saw some like just crazy plays put into action like really fast. Even the bear player Slime.
Yeah.
Like crazy transformation from Friday to Sunday. Like just combos and even like block punish instincts on some things. Like, yeah, some of these players were just learning so rapidly. And yeah, it's made me rethink some things because I've usually had the assumption of like on certain things, like, you don't really start introducing them to that because it's going to take like too long. The timeline's too long.
Right.
Get there. But it's making me just rethink, like, I think some things you just have to give to them right away, especially foundational things.
When you say that, do you mean
you'll
like
just be surprised?
Right. When you say that, or specifically, do you mean like the block punishment or the string defense, or does it depend on their strengths? Like,
I think the block punish stuff. Yeah, like.
Yeah.
I went in with this mindset of like, you know, just give them cheese, and then I altered that pretty quickly. I'm like, oh, this is, you know, that's not the way. But I was, like I was telling you, I was even doubtful as I was doing it. Like,
right?
Should we be like ducking strings? But I also felt like it was like the only solution to some of these things was to like give them the knowledge and then just allow them to do their best, because it was like the alternative is keep giving them like more strings to do and just more stuff to do, and it's like that's not gonna help. It's like this is the only route that made sense to me, was to talk about these like higher level defensive plays, I guess.
I like that. And that's, I think that's the conclusion I arrived at. As soon as we lost, my conclusion was I wish I taught them more cheese. And then having this conversation with you, I'm thinking like, well, maybe it's our job as coaches to unlock what their strength is, right? Like at first I thought, man, I wish I just gave these people some dumb strings that were impossible to defend against. But as the tournament progressed, even within the same matches, I was like, no, it really, really depends on how they spec out as a player and as a gamer, you know? So I resonate. I appreciate that you shared that you had the self-doubt on the teaching defense, because I remember seeing just like some of my players really discouraged with how much they lose in ranked or how much they lose in, you know, the matches. And I really believed that given enough time spec the way we did, it could have paid off. And before we had this conversation, I was thinking maybe I was wrong. But now that you've talked about it, I think maybe, you know, just sometimes there's a balance of time. There's a balance of just hitting the sweet spot of getting it to pay off for an event. It's just there's so many challenges, right?
Yeah, I think something that's probably hard to see at this level sometimes is like how effective their defense really is. Like you can think to yourself, like as they're getting hit by certain things, like, oh, I just wish they had like more offensive firepower to fight back with.
Right.
But like you can sometimes not be seeing exactly like how they're creating the opportunities for what they do with the defensive like knowledge that you've given them or that they've developed.
Right.
Like I think it can be misleading. You might see like some situation like that they keep losing on defense. And you're like, oh God, like they're not going to be able to solve that.
Yeah.
So like I just need to give them more offense. But if you keep tackling like those little situations one thing at a time, it just like builds their confidence.
Yeah.
Like, when they're blocking, like there's certain things that you just like can't see, but like the player can feel it. Like when they're more defensively grounded and more like confident with what's happening. Yeah,
no, I think I felt that the most with Lili Pichu, where I noticed early on that she plays very defensive. She will whiff 1-1 from range 8 because she wants to have the opponent play into her, right? But because so she can hit the combo off forward 4. And I noticed very early on, I'm like, you know, Lili, you're dying a lot, but I think I'm okay with it, because if you just hit one counter hit, you immediately equalize like 7 interactions, right? So I think I agree with your take that like it can be short-sighted to see someone's defense have holes and be like, we got to patch this up or it's doomed, whatever. And I think that might be, this is just a tangent, but I think like a lot of intermediate players who are working on something short term might not see that like big picture of like you zoom out for like 4 to 5 interactions, you might actually be okay. Obviously it can be improved, but like I think there are things that miss appreciation unless you zoom out, which I like that you pointed out. But I've been rambling for a long time. I want to just get your last opinion on your last player is PewDiePie.
Oh yeah.
How was it like working with him? And I want to hear your take, but for me at least, with coaching, I personally had a hard time figuring out the right approach for these seasoned gamers. Right? I think for the people who were brand new to Tekken, maybe not as competitive, I had a comfortable mode of talking to them and approaching them. But for these really, really seasoned gamers, especially the professional ones, I had no idea how to talk to them. Do I give them advice? Do I try to shape them from the beginning? How did you go about that with like someone who was like very prominent in League of Legends?
Well, first of all, he's just hilarious. Like he gave like so much morale and hype to the team. Like, yeah, I think we all just felt so energized by him, like having him on the calls. Like,
Okay,
he's just awesome. So I'm trying to think. I think I only did one. No, I did two. I did two video calls. With Michael. So
Michael, yeah, my fault.
The first one was I had just been watching his stream like a lot, and I was like, this is like pretty nasty, like the shit he's doing with Kuma. I was like immediately impressed. So I jumped into his stream and I said what's up, and then his chat banned me. I guess that's just what they do if you've got like a check mark or something.
You got hazed.
So I got hazed going in there, and they unbanned me, and they were like, "Yo, play against Cutie Pie."
So they haze you, and then they said, "Hop in,"
and I played him in a lobby. That was how I started getting impressions of what he was doing, and he was doing pretty good. I was playing him with Paul versus Kuma.
Okay.
And so then we played a little bit, and then I got him on the call, and I'm still just thinking in the same way, like, how can we up the like mix-ups and then the firepower, like damage output off the mix-ups. So I was like, you should use down back 4. And I was thinking like, yeah, this shit's risky and like launch punishable, but I was like, fuck it. Like, let's do it. Let's do more down back 4s.
Yeah. And
just clarified like what the combo was off of that on counter hit, so that he was getting a lot of damage off of that. And then I was telling him to use forward 2 to like complete the mix up. Down back 4 forward 2. And interestingly, I don't think I really saw him land that move like ever.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it in the tournament either. Yeah.
I did see like the counter hit down back 4s quite a bit.
Right.
So it's the same mindset there to start. And then kind of just let him like run with that. Oh, also I wanted to clarify the situation after the down back 4 hit. Like how do we get more offense going, more firepower when the down back 4 just hits normal? So I was saying like you can do while standing 1, charge 2 for chip damage. And you can throw him after that, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mostly just saw him doing the charge. So that was just like the first thing we talked about. And then he kept streaming. And then I would mostly just watch his stream and just chime in with like little ideas. And I also messaged Anakin a little bit because Anakin's got a Kuma.
Yes.
And I was like, you got any bear ideas? And he would just give me like, make sure he does the down back 2+3 a lot.
Oh yeah, the charge low.
I think he also wanted him to do like the half circle forward 2 strings.
That string was beating me up
there, but it was a lot more hands off, I think, with him because he's so experienced.
Right. So hands off with Cutie,
and Robcdee. We did one last like training session Friday where I was trying to teach him to get ready for some jack strings. Like Matman stuff.
Right.
And that involved just some more like improving damage off of combos, getting his while standing 2 combo ready. But yeah, he was just already very like naturally good, and that was more just like giving little ideas, and he would integrate them super fast. So I identified pretty quickly just how experienced he was and just how strong he was as a gamer in general.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the insight, man. That's really, really cool. It's cool to hear you interact with these players. It's mind-blowing to hear your mid-process reevaluation, or as you said, maybe like second guessing. But I feel like that's kind of essential, you know, like we're trying to, this is kind of uncharted territory, right? Like, when have we done this? I don't know if you've coached total beginners like in this way who are like existing gamers, but for me, I was lost. Oh, hello? Can you hear me? What happened?
I can hear you on the stream. Wait, say something again.
Hello? Wait.
Shit.
On my Discord, it has the volume. Banned? Let me recall him. Guys, I forgot what I said.
There we go.
Hello.
Okay, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay. What I was saying. Oh, geez, what was I saying? I felt like I was flowing. I was flow stating so hard. You know what it's like in competition. You flow state and you forget what you did. I think I was saying. It was cool to hear you talk about how you came in with a certain process and then still have doubts or second guesses and reevaluations. And I was commenting on how this is kind of uncharted territory for us. I've never coached hardcore gamers coming to Tekken. It's always been someone new trying to learn Tekken, right? Right. So I was I think appreciating your insight on all of that. And I guess a good way to wrap it up, if you were to coach a brand new team, you've already kind of made it clear that, like, you know, lean into their strengths, lean into what they're already good at, and then optimize. Are there other things you feel like you would do? Like, do you feel like I went through doubts of, like, should I make a schedule? Should I, like, make it structured? Should I do documents? Should I do videos? But the more I go, the more I think it really just depends on the player. Do you have thoughts on whether it's player specific? Is there, like, a good regimen that you can impose? Like, what is the approach you would take if you did another one of these?
Well, I like how the base idea of, like, form the impression of what they're, like, doing naturally, what they're good at naturally, like what their strengths are. That idea is by its nature going to, like, kind of form to the player,
right?
Rather than, like, okay, I need to figure out what exactly to do for this player, you know, for each player. You have, like, a guiding principle that, like, accomplishes that for you. So, like, that's just step one, like, find out what they do well out the gate, and then figure out how to make them do that better and make it, like, more rewarding. Whatever it is they do, make it more rewarding.
Yeah.
So it seemed to work quite well, but I still, after, like, the conclusion of this, there's still some of those, like, feelings of self-doubt, like, was this team just, like, cracked out of their mind? Like, these, like, they just surprised me so much with, like, with everything, like, their attitude, how hard they worked, the way they supported each other, the way they responded to what I told them and adapted. Like, I think it was a combination of, like, crazy hard work from them, and it was just, like, a good match, like, the way we all work together. And I just feel lucky in some way. Like, I think there was a lot of skill and insight that went into it, but it was, like, a little bit of luck too.
It's always fun talking to you about this stuff, because I think you're very real about it. It's like sometimes the circumstance favors us, but also we put our best into it, right? And I think I've always loved these conversations with you because of how that insight and appreciativeness is a undercurrent. And I think that's a great piece that exists among these really successful people like yourself. So thanks so much, Joey. I appreciate you coming on. We've talked for a long ass time, but thank you for taking the time. This is really, really fun. I always enjoy talking to you, man.
Pleasure, bro. Thanks for inviting me on. Yeah, it's good catching up. I'd love to talk about this, like, you know, even more with you and get more of your side of things, like, kind of how it went. But we can save it for another time.
Sweet.
Appreciate you checking in.
Yeah, that sets me up well for another video, and I always appreciate that because these videos are killing me. But thank you so much, bro. I'll let you go. Let's catch up soon, and we'll figure out a call. Thank you so much, man.
Sounds good, bro. I'll catch you later.
Cheers. Have a good night.
Peace.
That's Joey Fury, you guys. If you've never heard him talk before, if you don't know who he is, get with the program. Joey Fury is consistent top American player, always showing up, putting on world-class performances. I always call him, if you weren't here in the stream earlier, I call him the Batman of Tekken. He shows up prepared. And did you hear how he talks about the game? Gracious, like, humble, but also nasty at the game. I think that Joey Fury is a shining star for the North American community. If you stuck around this whole video, I appreciate it a lot. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think about Joey. Tell me what you think about the matches. If you haven't seen the matches, check out the Sajam Slam. This is the first of its kind, as far as I know. Sajam wanted to imitate the Street Fighter CR Cup, as far as I know. And I think it was a resounding success. I have so much respect for what Joey has done. I have so much respect for what all the coaches have done. When we fought all these other coaches, they cooked us. This was a hard tournament. So even though we finished 4th, I think that this experience was so valuable. So grateful to Sajam, so grateful to Nyx Rose. Also did a bunch of producing behind the scenes, and shout outs to all the coaches. This video's gone on long enough. Again, if you stuck around this whole time, let me know if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.